Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet Tyro for a very special discussion. I'm joined with my buddy, my partner in crime, the host of the most, the Catface Killer. As always, thank you for joining me once again, sir.
Well, you want to talk about nuts, and what do I do half my day? Then I'm awake, 7 hours I'm awake, licking my nuts.
I thought that was what dogs do, not cats.
I don't know, cats do it too. We also go for the butthole more, I guess.
Good to know. Guys, you know what? I'm going to endeavor my best to release this one on Christmas Day because I know nuts, whether it's in your dessert, it's got a lot to do with the Christmas cheer, chestnuts or whatever nuts you got.
Nutmeg in your eggnog.
Thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. Nutmeg in your eggnog. Thank you. So I think this is going to be our Christmas release. And I do want to apologize because this is another discussion. I can't believe the last one that I was planned to do with 4 different people throughout 2017. I watched this one.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I know there might be people that are upset because...
Yeah, I'm upset. I'm your 5th string? I thought we were like a pair of nuts in the nutsack.
We are,
man. Separated at birth by an ocean.
Well, you're the one I could always rely on, but I rely on you so much. Sometimes I want to give you a break, and I try to, but... for whatever reason, the other people that we had on, I'm not going to mention, but I want to mention them just out of the gate because I do want to apologize. Nothing against you guys. Time constraint. We want to wrap up the year with this one, and enough with this, guys, because this was actually meant to be our last documentary of the month for the year. And to be honest with you, although this is a documentary, this is an animated feature. This is a fucking crazy story. And as soon as I saw the trailer for this movie, I could not wait. I saw the trailer for this 2 years ago. And guys, this documentary is called Nuts. This is based on true events, very, very true events. This is one of those stories.
Whoa. Hey, that was kind of a spoiler because I went into this not knowing anything. I was like, the whole time I was like, could this be real? Did this really happen? Like, I can't believe that many people would believe in this. And that was part of like half my viewing experience up until they do their reveal.
Well, again, it's being portrayed as a documentary. I mean, that's the first thing you see, so I don't blame you, but I will say this, if this wasn't a documentary, it would be a fucking really ridiculous story to make out of fiction. So, but again, guys, this is another one of those, sometimes life is stranger than fiction, and I don't want to spoil too much, but this is a story about, I think it's set in the main crux of the story is about a doctor called John Brinkley. I'm going to say doctor. I know what someone's thinking. If you know what this is about, you're going to think, why are you even saying it? But this is about...
No, it's important to start out addressing him as doctor.
He's Dr. John Brinkley, and in the 1920s, he came upon... I think he was living in the town a country in South America. Not South America, in the south of North America. I've got Kentucky, I don't know.
Kansas?
Yeah, Kansas, thank you. He was in Kansas, and basically impotence was running rampant where he was, and him being a doctor that he is, he came up with a genius idea that, you know what, I've got an idea. Why don't I take the sperm out of the testicles of goats and implant them into these impotent men, and that is going to cure impotence. And apparently it did. And this story is the rise and fall of this Dr. John Brinkley with his miracle impotence cure and how he made waves in the medical industry. And this... not
just the medical industry, actually. This guy was extraordinarily ambitious, and with his success in that, branched out into other things, and actually was a pioneer of many different things in American culture.
And I'm telling you, man, I love this documentary because it's fucking entertaining, it's fucking informative, it's animated, it's a true story, and it is insane. I cannot believe this shit is real. And you know what, guys? You know what? We are going to spoil it because we want you to watch it. And the things that happen in this documentary in real life, I can't believe it's actually happened. What did you think of this documentary? I want to know your thoughts as always first. What did you think of this movie?
Okay, so as we know, I normally go into these things cold, not knowing. So the way that this documentary was formed up and presented to the audience, the first half of it is presented in such a way that it's unclear, did this really happen? It's John Brinkley's story by his point of view, telling you, this is how I got to where I am. And it turns out they're in the middle of a court case, and then like this actually did happen. Like the whole time I was watching, I was like, this guy's very charismatic. there's a small like percentage where it's like I guess this could be true. People have been fooled by like crazy shit before, but I can't imagine mass people being bamboozled like this, and swindled basically. And it turns out they were like in the middle of the documentary, you just flip it, and then you hear the opposing side of the court case instead of his what is it, like fluffed up, nostalgic kind of like heartfelt, heartwarming sort of story of his journey as a doctor and success to this point.
Well, I want to point out something to people listening, because they might feel like watching this, you might not understand how he got away with this. And another really fascinating thing about this movie is it also shows the birth and the rise of the American Medical Association, because when he started out, it wasn't fully formed and legalized yet. And that's why he got away with a lot of the stuff, and he didn't go through the due diligence, the proper procedure. So, like you said, there's so many things, so many other avenues that this situation happens around. On top of that, he was a pioneer in radio and broadcasting, because that was another avenue he took when things weren't going his way.
Well, he wasn't just a pioneer with radio. That's one of the things he did to circumvent law. He was also a pioneer in law and how to dodge laws, apparently. He was very clever, actually.
Yeah. What did you think of this being an animated feature? Because after I watched it, I'm like, this could have been like Catch Me If You Can, because I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually turned into a movie in the future, because the content you got here is so great and there's so many characters. And let me tell you something, man, the way this is executed as a story, even before the animation, because again, you're thrown in the middle, at the beginning, at the end, and you're not sure whether you believe it's real or not. If you don't know how this turns out, the way it slowly unfolds and the way he tries to escalate and try to evade the law and does all these things and he becomes rich, this is a fucking fascinating story. And to be honest with you, animation made it great as well, but I would have loved it if this was another Catch Me If You Can Leonardo DiCaprio movie, because it has the potential, it has the story, and it is just so fucking awesome and sad. Ultimately, the way the movie ends is fucking sad, but if you know the story, you might think I shouldn't even say that, because the things he was ultimately doing was really wrong. And when the real reveal comes out of how much of a charlatan he was, it is pretty fucking disgusting. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the guy literally put a price tag on human life.
He did.
Like that's not even an exaggeration.
No, and he was selling water. He was everything. All the parts were saying was fucking fake as fuck. And man, let me just talk about the animation, because I don't want to skip over that. I like this kind of sketchy kind of cardboard cutout where the heads and the bodies are kind of swinging. It's like when children used to make those shows back in the day. You just cut out paper and you have them, you hold them up and you kind of move it along, and it really brings an even more comical element to this ludicrous story. And I thought it was great, as well as the documentarian splicing in live action footage and even a bit of live action and real recordings. I mean, this is a very multi-layered executed project.
I love that they animated this, and I think it helped with the not the setting, with like the atmosphere. There we go. It helped give it an atmosphere a little bit more lighthearted than like if it was live action, I think.
Yeah. Because
this is like a really dark story, actually. Like the reveal of how much of a fucking megalomaniac, psychopath, just sociopathic, doesn't give a fuck about people, charlatan, fake ass guy John Brinkley turned out to be. It's like, I think if I saw it the whole time it was live action, I might have problems actually disassociating the actor with the role in the future. You know what I mean? Like, I would know this guy as John Brinkley for the rest of his life.
I get what you mean, but again, I think the reason why I mentioned Catch Me If You Can is because the way they execute that movie is it starts off very light-hearted with Leonardo DiCaprio, although he has a sad home, when he's on the move and he's doing all the identity theft stuff, it's like a comedy. It's really fun.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the John Brinkley's beginnings, but yeah, he was always a charlatan.
But you can't. That's how you got to see. The way they did this movie is they don't show his beginning, because if you see what he's done from the beginning of his life, then it's just a horrible story. But if you play it like how they played it, the way they framed this is very well done. They actually try to fool you Like, they make you feel he's a doctor. They show you he's a doctor, he's got a shop, he does his things, but you don't know his past. Because when you find out eventually his past, you know, I think the way the documentarians made this movie is if like you were one of his clients. You know him as a doctor, you see what he's doing, and only when he's taken to court and everything's revealed to you, like it's revealed in this movie, then you see the real picture. And I think that they execute that on purpose because, again, I don't think they want to fool you, but I think it does give you a lot more immersion rather than if they just played it from, you know, chronologically, seeing how this guy just started. But the thing about the guy, John Brinkley himself, is that what's the term you use, psychopath? Because it's not like I don't know if he's malicious because he knows what he's doing. I think he like compartmentalizes what he's done.
No. He has no empathy for these people. They are just dollar signs to him. It's when you're a psychopath, you need to understand, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be a malicious thing. Like, you will trample people for your own benefit and not give a fuck. That is actually what a psychopath is. Some of them enjoy this, you know, but this is a different diagnosis to what psychopathy actually is.
Yeah. I mean, again, I want to know your thoughts about the execution. I just mentioned I thought the way they chopped it up was good and how they fed it to you, because they didn't feed it to you in a chronological way. And I think they did that to kind of manipulate the audience, to kind of give you that false sense of security, or to tell you the story the way they wanted you, you know, to enjoy it this way.
Oh, no, I loved it. I enjoyed this, dude. Like, this was probably, I would say actually maybe like a low to middle first class for me. Like, the whole experience, the way they chose to animate it, to present it to you, especially if you didn't know anything like I did. I found it a very enjoyable, very neat story and experience, and educational even. You know, it hits like a lot of high marks.
I think this is stellar. They say there's like three pillars of being entertaining. You got to be informative, you know, got to be enjoyable, entertainment-wise, and you got to have good execution. I think this case, I just think when you watch this movie, and I showed this to my mum months ago, like at the beginning of the year, and she was laughing, and at the end, it gets so dark. And this guy not only destroyed his life and destroyed people's lives and got people killed and stuff like that, but the legacy of his family, even his son, it is very sad about his family. It's like, it doesn't end well for the whole family. It's just their whole legacy. It's a very dark story. I would call this, I guess I call it a dark comedy, but it's not really funny. It's humorous, but it's real. So I find it, that this is absolutely fantastic. I would give this a solid first class. You know, it's not magnificent, but it's such a great documentary because it's so informative. They use animation to tell the story. Again, this is another one of those things that I never heard of this. I can't believe this is real. And even though I knew it was a documentary going in, it made it even worse. Like, I was watching it knowing this is real. Like, really? Really? I just couldn't believe it. But the best scene in the movie is just the court case. They keep coming back to it. And that guy, part of the American Medical Association, the guy who's just out for blood, who hates this guy
that fucking hated him, because you know what's so funny is the whole thing started with the Medical Association or whatever it was called. They started out like literally they're just a bunch of nerds that could shake their fists impotently at people,
and they were ignoring him. I think they were ignoring him.
They were ignoring him because they're like, he's whatever, he's a fucking full of shit, people will figure it out, and people didn't figure it out. So like the only guy who took him seriously was like this anal retentive nerd who had his own magazine. He was the editor of a magazine, and that was his power. And it's just so, it's not even like fascinating. It's just like so humorous that literally John Brinkley's downfall was he sued this guy eventually. And once this guy is like, I got him where I want him. This guy was a fucking idiot. He pulls him in front of court and he destroys him. Yeah. Well, his lawyer destroys him. It's just like, it's so like, I don't even know how to say it. It's like the comeuppance is like so deserved.
Yeah, and even the way they animate it, because the guy, it's just, I think it's like a 5-minute scene where he's just on a run. He is, and the screen goes black, and everyone else goes quiet, and I was like, this is amazing, guys. I know we kind of rambled on about the movie here and there. This is fucking fantastic. This is my favorite documentary of the year, and you know I'm going to buy this.
Of the year? That's a high bar.
I guess 13 was great. We've spoken about a lot of documentaries this year. It's one of my favorites.
A lot of good ones, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of my favorites of the year. Wow, this is really great. And if guys, you don't even know the story, trust me. We've spoken about it lightly, but there's a lot of things we didn't mention. It's a first class. It's fantastic. It's so under the radar. And I wish we spoke about Animation Month, but again, we've stretched out this whole Ralph Bakshi thing for the whole year anyway. So I think this is a fun Christmas movie, even though it's very dark. This is just one. I can't say the whole family would enjoy because kids.
No, this is for adults. This is for adults, but
Yeah.
like it's like if you were like, I don't know what to do on Christmas. I'm a boring adult. Watch this documentary.
It will get your attention. If you want something that's animation, as soon as you see this guy doing his thing, injecting the goat sperm into guys' balls and that, this can't be real. Once you see the escalation and how rich he becomes, and just seeing how angry this guy got because he was getting so much money and he was like a movie star. And man, the documentary just tells you everything about, I mean, they really inform you of how successful John Brinkley became, how he rose to power and how he fell, and just, this has happened a lot in life. I mean, you can do this. This happens a lot in religion as well. There's a lot of pastors that do fake healing and stuff like that. We've seen this before in different avenues, but I just didn't know that there was someone who was injecting goat sperm into men's balls, and oh boy, what a tale!
The story is just like the story by itself is just like, you tell somebody about that and like, really? Like, you don't even have to tell them anything else about the documentary, and they might want to watch it just because they don't think you're being straight with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why this is called Nuts. This is fucking insane. This story is too surreal to be believed. So, guys, if you're a fan of animation, obviously, if you're an adult over 18, and just watch the trailer. Watch the trailer, and you'll know if you like this. Because honestly, the trailer just does a good job selling it. But it's played out like a comedy. It just kind of delves down into a much darker movie by the end, and it's, to be honest with you, I found it very sad, the legacy he left for his family, because all of his family after this, what happens to him is just like, god damn, what a dark ending. Maybe they deserve it, they profited from it, I'm not gonna lie, obviously they became very rich and stuff like that, but it's a comic story.
They didn't become very rich. Let me tell you the difference between like rich and wealthy. This guy was a heavyweight tycoon.
Yeah.
If you could run for like governor, for example, you are wealthy. You are not rich. You are wealthy. Yeah. If you're rich, you're about to make the stepping stone from rich to wealthy. The guys on a basketball team are rich. The owner is wealthy. This guy was like on the owner level of a basketball team, wealthy.
Yeah. So I'm serious. Can you not really see this as like a movie or HBO miniseries? I really think this has potential to be done.
Oh no! I can. But I like it this way. Is what I'm saying. Like, this is my preferred way of seeing this story and documentary.
Yeah, I really do think this is going to happen. I just think it's because I just don't think this story has enough awareness, and it's such a crazy American history story that wow, another story of just something insane. But to be honest with you, this kind of thing had to happen to build the American Medical Association Board. I mean, and he really did help fast track that thing. Well, I wouldn't say fast track because it took a long time.
I wouldn't say help either.
Well, he was a big figurehead of someone they need to take down, because this guy really brings the name Quack to his fullest.
Like literally in the middle of the court case, his arch rival explains what a quack is, and this is this guy to a T. Like, this is the definition of a quack. Like you were saying, like literally the definition of a quack. If you looked it up on Merriam-Webster, you may get this guy John Brinkley in the definition.
I wouldn't be surprised if his picture actually came up, because he must be one of the most notorious and well-publicized quacks. But again, I just think because this happened in the 20s, if this happened maybe in the 50s, more modern times, then I think it would have got more notice. But it's, this was the Big Depression times, right? Around that time. So
yeah, this is the Roaring 20s. The Great Depression is the 30s, but this is around, Boardwalk Empire. This is during that.
Yeah. So, guys, you might see a movie, a live-action television series, something of it, because I really think this needs to happen, because it's such a fascinating
Watch your
story.
Netflix originals, and it'll pop up eventually.
I think it will, because this story spans a good number of years, like a decade, right? I reckon.
No, longer than that. Like, this guy, I think, lived to his 50s, and it's like from him in his late 20s or early 30s to like mid 50s, maybe late 50s.
Yeah, this guy had a run. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. Cannot recommend this highly enough, guys. Rent it on iTunes. Hopefully it's on Netflix. I never checked, because I did rent this actually off Amazon or something. But guys, if you've seen Nuts, which I highly doubt because this is not very publicized, very high marks on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, because the few that have seen it know how good this is. Watch this documentary, guys. I'll leave a link to watch it in the description down below, to buy it, to rent it, or what have you. And again, I had to make you watch this because I wanted you to watch something just crazy that's not Bakshi.
Get the Bakshi out of my mouth.
Yeah, a different kind of crazy.
A good crazy. No, I enjoyed this. Thank you very much for that.
Not a problem. And guys, if you are watching this on Christmas and you decide that you're gonna check this out over the Christmas day, Christmas holiday, Christmas period before New Year's, I want to know, please leave a comment of this movie, what you thought, agree or disagree, in the description down below. And I want this to be one of our last uploads for the year on Planet Tyro, but if we haven't made the channel update, then stay tuned to the channel and hear what we got to say to wrap up 2017. But guys, before we go, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Same to my buddy, the young boy here as well. Thanks for joining me on this one as always.
Yeah, don't get drunk when you're hanging out with K Cool, man. You get a bad hangover, dude.
That's going to be in 2018, guys. If you don't know what the catface is talking about, stay tuned. I'm sure I'll make an announcement either on the channel or on Twitter at Planet Tyro. But guys, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next recording. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, add us on Twitter and join our Facebook group and stuff.
Yeah, do what he says.